any minute now.
Mm.
All right, we're live. Hey, y'all. I'm live randomly on a Monday because I have an important friend who has important things to talk about, which is health insurance, because you're my health insurance agent. Hello, darling. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Loni, and yes, I am the health insurance agent.
So, a little backstory on how I met you. You were connected with some other folks with somebody else when I I think it was like 2 years ago, and we got on the phone, and all of a sudden, like that, you were just channeling all kinds of information about health insurance and looking at things, and we talked about the market. And now, granted, y'all, this was the summer of 2023. I remember sitting in this favorite bar of mine in New York because I had a project there, on the phone with you. And oh my gosh, what was the other gal that we were on the phone with?
Victoria.
Victoria, yes. And like
Yes.
really kind of chewing the fat. I mean, not only about health insurance, but the problems with health insurance and healthcare for women in general. I mean, you and I could go on and on and on about that, right?
Yes.
But we've stayed in touch quite a bit and discussed things. And so, of course, as I started getting my notifications for, because I am in the what do they call it? The market. What do they call it?
Marketplace. Yep.
The marketplace, which is so, I mean, it is challenging to understand because there's like who it goes through, and then there's what's that called?
Your provider is right. So you're in the marketplace. You're part of the Affordable Care Act. You're utilizing for us here in Colorado, Connect for Health Colorado,
Right.
not the healthcare.gov marketplace. But then from there, your information is sent out to whatever your respective insurance company is. So whether that's United or Anthem, whatever you end up having. And so, it's difficult because where do we actually get this information from? Is it from our marketplace? Is it from our insurance company? There's a lot of lines interjecting.
I muted myself so we could have you unfettered in case there was any noise from my side. And y'all, I see there's some folks watching live. I may not be able to pull up Facebook comments, but I'll see your comments over here if you're on YouTube and you want to comment as well and ask Loni some questions. Again, we're in Colorado, but I just wanted to bring you on because I called you this morning. What's the message I left? I said, oh boy. So I guess we're going to be I'm going to be going commando as far as health insurance is concerned for 2020.
Yes.
And your message back to me, what did you say? It was so funny.
I don't remember. I just remember telling you we're not going to raw dog it this year. We are not raw dogging it this year. No.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's where, it kind of starts to lead into the problems because so many people are looking at the potential of this, looking at the politics of this, and they are sitting there going, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? Should I get in? Should I get out? If I'm in, how much am I going to pay? If I'm out, how much am I going to pay? And so, in my opinion, no, there is no raw dogging. We are not just going to walk in 2026 and look like we're not going to have any type of coverage. Or look like we're going to just be compromising.
I love that. And so everybody, I mean, so we'll back that up too. Everybody has their different circumstances. So for me, I'm 60 and in fairly good health. My insurance premiums are fairly reasonable. I forgot to tell you, by the way, I was able to get the whole mammogram thing without the full getting this is TMI, y'all, but too bad. If you're going to watch me, you're going to get the TMI. And I think it's helpful to talk about these things. So one of the things that happened to me just, having coverage was I went in, had something a little bit unusual with one of my boobs and raised the flag. And that all of a sudden put me into this category where they're like, oh gosh, no, you're going to have to go and get the I guess, is it the ultrasound?
Like the higher rate type of mammogram is what we talked about, and that you were going to have to do some special circumstances. And this wasn't even something that was proven. This was just something that you had talked about with a provider, and there was no reason for you to even be flagged.
No,
yes,
it wasn't. And I mean, it was an immediate flag. And I don't know if you remember, there was a Seinfeld years ago when Elaine had went in and uh, and then all of a sudden she just saw the doctor like, she said, "What are you writing? What are you writing?" And then all of a sudden she was on this like shit list of doctor's offices because she'd been flagged. Then that's how I felt. Like I even had went in for a scan for something else and tried to sneak in a little mammogram. They're like, "Whoop whoop, nope, you're in the system." Going from preventative, right, to diagnostic. So
Preventative free care to paying for diagnostic.
right, without any real, you know, empirical evidence, I guess would be the word, or whatever, like
Yes.
any, or it was more like, right, I'm like, I'm sorry I said anything. So I will tell you what happened is I went to a health images down in Greenwood Village, and the lovely thing is I walked in, they said, we're going to give you a mammogram, but we're going to wait to do anything diagnostic to see what those are. So it was wonderful. And I have to shout them out, and I need to give them a Google review, which, by the way, if you have doctor's offices, any place that you get any kind of diagnostic work and you really like what they're doing, go give them a Google review, right?
Yes, and also too, this is where it goes into, and you and I had talked about this. How can you advocate for yourself? Advocate for your needs. Don't just take the acceptance of that you're going to have this diagnostic mammogram done, but that there is no history of that. And so
Right.
finding a place that will give you what you need. Does it take a lot of work? Yes. Healthcare takes a lot of work.
Okay, honey. And thank you for saying that. I think that's, everything from healthcare to the keeping the records, because I was mentioning to some friends, I know that I get my blood work done through my HRT, my hormone replacement therapy provider. And then I also have my, just, the person that I go to for my GP, my general physician. Then I also have when I get my skin checked, right? All these different things. And so trying to keep all that together, and this is just as a healthy person.
Yes, yes, that is as a
It's a
healthy
lot.
person.
Anyway, so I just wanted to tell you that it was really wonderful. Now, not to say that it wasn't the most complicated, interesting mammogram I've had, because they really got in there. I was doing all kinds of weird poses, and more than I'd usually done. So, still get it done, but it was free, as opposed that I didn't need the diagnostic. So everything is okay on that, which I was very happy to
Good.
have done. But again, that even going from diagnostic or preventative to diagnostic. So back on health insurance. So here we are in November of our year, year of our Lord 2025, in this economy, trying to figure out what's happening, because even as of last night, I think intentionally, they were voting on this on a Sunday night so that you couldn't even really call any of your representatives. We've got 8 garbagey Democrats, well, 7 garbagey Democrats and 1 independent, who I think they all drew a straw to say, we're going to be the ones to cave. Talk to me about that. That's my political, but we're going to stay apolitical on this because healthcare is for everybody. We would hope. One would think.
Right. Well, and I think that the most difficult part about this is that we're, only, technically 10 days into this open enrollment season. And so this is coming at things hard and fast. We've all been watching this for months. We've all been analyzing this for months. We've all been following the political sides of this for months. And like you said, this is not really about the political side. The politics, they're going to do what the politics do. And so are you in a position individually, are you in a position to take over what your needs are? What can you control? How can you control it? A lot of people have said to me in the last 10 days that they are thinking about withholding, and not putting their insurance in until the politics make the decisions. I am highly advocating not to do that.
Okay, I was
We
going to
have
ask you about that.
seen we have seen in, I mean, the marketplace itself, the Affordable Care Act itself is at year 13 this year. And for me, I've been around for 11 of them. I was part of, that very critical, crucial time in 2018 where we were waiting for that thumbs up, thumbs down. Um, and, I think we're going to come into that potentially this year, but waiting until they decide politically what to do, how is that going to affect you? Will it mean that they politically wait so long that you can't get in on time? because these
Okay.
windows will close December 15th. These windows will close. If you do
Okay.
not have a plan by December 15th, yes, you could potentially get one by January 15th for a February 1 start date. But how does that compromise you? How does that compromise your care?
Wow. Hey, remind us again what happened in 2018.
2018 was when we were in another situation of where the Affordable Care Act was being voted on, and it was being put through, and we were waiting for that very, impending final thumbs up, thumbs down.
Right.
And to be honest, a lot of people are comparing this year to that year. And they're comparing it to the heavy changes in the marketplace, the heavy changes of premiums. We've also, in a lot of instances, people have gotten very comfortable with the changes that happened during COVID. Those include tax credits, those include tax subsidies, those
Yeah.
include all of these extra benefits. And now we're back into a new normal. And so all of those things are drifting away. And so it's given people quite a shock, to be honest.
It
So
is.
that's part of the changes.
I think that's definitely I'm part of that too. If like there's been a bit of not complacency, but you do, because there are so many things to worry about, especially in the last year with what's since the election last year, depending on where you sit on that side. But now everybody's worried. I was worried because I care about people, but I didn't have to wait to be affected to be worried, right? That's just me. But thank you for that reminder. And of course, when you think about who was in office in 2018, so I'm not just saying, but
I
it
mean,
definitely,
some of the,
yeah, some
consistencies.
similarities. That's right.
Yes.
And I know my cousin Sheila is watching as well too. She said they've got three more votes. I mean, of course, everything has got um there's a lot that we still have to go through. However, what a great reminder. And hi, Brent Manuel. Now he's up in Canada, so he doesn't have to worry about this as much as as we do.
Well,
But
in the meantime, I have had a couple of clients who were dual citizens, and they purposely, got coverage here in Colorado, got coverage here in the United States because it did give them options. So there's always a lot of talk about, well, what if we just go to, a non-payer system and things like that. And there's
yes.
always going to be those criticisms for the systems, and does this system work? Does it not work? I can't tell you though how many people I talk to, and new people who are just baffled that this system does work. I mean, the foundation of it does work.
You feel like it does.
Yes, very
Okay.
often. Yes, very
Okay.
often it does.
I think that's the hardest thing that we're all struggling with too is, okay, how much of a pawn are we with the money? I mean, when you go through what happened with United Healthcare and that whole scenario last year, and we're looking at a lot of companies that have made a ton of money, and it all goes to the shareholders. So it is hard to not feel that way. But
Well, and even last year when that was going on, when you and I were talking about it, what were we talking about? How do you advocate for yourself? How do
yes.
you keep your own things in line? How do you stay in touch with what your needs are, and how do you make those the forefront of the conversations?
So with that, that is the focus of our talk. We had to get the 13 minutes and 51 seconds out of the way of ranting, because that's wouldn't be a Mia Voss Live without that. But I love that that's what you said to me on the phone when we spoke earlier. We have been saying is, bottom line, no matter how you vote or how you feel about what's going on, how do you advocate for yourself? How do you take care of yourself? And that really is the most essential thing right now for yourself and your family.
Absolutely. And I'm telling all of my clients, and I have for a couple months now, what can you do to go into 2026 the healthiest that you can? If you have met those deductibles maxed out of pockets, please utilize your health insurance for the next, what is it, 7, 8 weeks that we have left. Go and see a dermatologist. Go and get some, physical therapy. Get some of
Mhm.
your extras taken care of. Get some of those extra scans done. If you haven't met those, then do you have a primary care provider? How long has it been since you had your last physical? I mean, really.
Ooh.
We have a lot of people that, again, they get comfortable with where they're at. For next year, whether these tax credits go through or not, there still is going to be a high need. That's a lot of why we've experienced this rate increases because the risk table has dramatically shifted.
Is
And
that what it
so,
is, Lonnie? I was going
yes,
to ask you, like, because I know, and I know, and I hopefully this helps other people too, because I err on the side of I might be a little less informed than most people. So why not put it out there so people can get that answered? I was curious about that. Like we had sort of two separate things. We have the rate increase, and then we have what's going on in Congress or in more of the political piece of it as well too, with the Affordable Care Act. So that's why is because they feel like, yeah. Tell me a
the
little bit more.
risk table. So the risk table has dramatically shifted. And so there was quite a few, rumors and things, talks back in August, September timeline, especially here in Colorado, talking about how Rocky Mountain Health Plans, which is owned by United and Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem was not going to be in the state of Colorado for 2026. A lot of that had to do with because, again, of the risk table. The risk table has dramatically increased. Therefore, there's a lot of people using their health insurance. Since we've come out of COVID, a lot of people are getting that care. They're getting the surgeries done. There's a lot of people who have long COVID and have been
Yes.
going through a lot of need for the past few years. All of that contributes to an increase, and therefore the insurance companies have to increase those premiums to be able to provide. One of the aspects and one of the difficulties that a lot of people have, especially, like for example, in your circumstance, you are a healthy woman. You also have a very good heart and believe in everyone. So you're not necessarily on that tragedy side, but there's a lot of people that are sitting there saying, I'm a really healthy person. I don't want to have my premiums increase to cover other people. Um,
Right.
but that's part of the way this system is. That's part of the way this system works. We're seeing dramatic shifts upwards of in some companies about 38%. And I've run my own logistics. I've used myself as the control here. And for
Right.
me this year, for me next year, how are these premiums shifting? And some of them are going up between 34 and 38%. Dramatic, with all of the other types of circumstances we're going through, increases in food, increases in just power, water, everything
Right.
else.
Utilities, housing cost, everything. Absolutely. It's been so sneaky. So when you add that and pile that in, it's a lot of numbering.
It is a lot of
Yeah.
numbering.
A lot of
Um,
mapping.
but again, that goes back to what can you control? You can't
Right.
control how much they're going to do, to raise those things. Can you control how much water you drink every day? Can you control, if you're getting sunlight? Can you
Right.
control if you are utilizing a mental health provider? My background is
Mhm.
in mental health. I am a huge advocate for mental health. So if you have an option on your plan and many of the plans, for example, in Colorado do, where they have free mental health care, why are you not using that? Why are you not connecting with someone, even just a place to vent and talk, about what your needs are and what your life looks
Sure.
like?
Such a great piece of advice, honey. I think people forget that. And I think in some ways it's designed to be that way, that the stigma of mental health, right? And dividing it apart from physical health is it's been a dangerous thing.
Yes, yes, it has.
It's a good reminder though.
And so, if people can, again, if you have an option to look at your benefits, look at your summary of benefits. They're there. I mean, they're always going to be there. If you look in your portals and things, you'll be able to see what providers you have, what providers you need. Um, there's a lot of people like me. Ask for help. Please ask for help. There's
Yeah.
so many of us that will give you that time and give you that attention. And want to be able to help you find the doctors, the providers, everything that you need.
That's how we got connected actually was honestly was I, had some questions and then all of a sudden we got on the phone, and it was like, for me, it was such an eye opener of you wanting to have that conversation. So I appreciate that of just reaching out. And do you think that's a good piece of advice for people, depending on who they have their coverage with? I mean, it's okay to not demand, but to expect some hand holding, right? With
Please
your health
expect
insurance.
that.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
please
you.
expect that. The other thing is too is that so many of these insurance companies, I can't say all of them across all 50 states and every single place that they are going to have these member advocates, but for here in Colorado, we have member advocates. They will talk you through a procedure. They will talk you through a doctor's visit. They will talk you through and say, how can I find somebody that I need? Um, a lot of this again has to do with stepping up and saying, this is what my needs are and how do I get there?
Right.
And be open and be willing to take the advice. The other side of that is too
Okay.
is that utilizing those insurance companies and utilizing those member advocates, they're going to be able to tell you who is current on your plan as providers. The other thing we're seeing as well is a very large shift to concierge and a lot of doctors
Okay.
not wanting to take insurance anymore and potentially doing self-pay.
Yeah, you know what? Talk to me about that. That was an interesting thing because when and I think you did coach me and counsel me on that as well, and I believe that my doctor's office did too. Of like, go and find out about the cash cost of that. And I ended up doing that when I had. Great way to lose weight, by the way, before a wedding is to get diverticulitis. Don't recommend it, but it did help me get my wedding dress. Thank you so much, diverticulitis. But I ended up getting a scan, and that was something that I did do, was just negotiate a cash price for that as well too.
Well, and I think you've also mentioned as well that sometimes you're utilizing that even in the sense of your blood tests and things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, looking at what those cash prices look like, a lot of times the cash price is going to be less than if you're going to utilize your insurance. But then of course we start to get into this conversation of what is my insurance good for? And then we start to go down this whole other rabbit hole of, of the usefulness of insurance. Um, Really, what I'm saying when we're talking about concierge, yes, look at cash prices for procedures that, if and see if that's something that you can navigate. The other side of that, though, is that a lot of these doctors are going to potentially stop taking insurance and just want the cash price. They also, too, in the midst of this, we also have to remember that they are also employed by the insurance companies. They are also waiting for payments from the insurance companies. I've
Right.
spoken to a lot of providers this year, and a lot of them are losing pay. Some of them are receiving up to 50% decrease in being able to care for you.
Wow, because they're negotiating down the cost and they're working so hard to find out ways. Man, fuck them.
The other
So,
side is too, they're eliminating visits. I mean, in many insurance aspects, to take Medicaid, for example, coming into 2026, if you are a mental health provider, or if you are needing a mental health provider, then moving forward into 2026, you will be limited on your visits.
I was just
Um,
gonna say, I mean, it's unfortunate if we hadn't been taking advantage of that. And now we're only just talking about Affordable Care Act. I don't have a lot of experience, and fortunately, well, my mom. Which one is the one? So Medicare. Which one is the one if you don't have insurance, and which is the one that you get more of like a
Medicaid.
recovery?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so that would be the Medicaid. And again, some of these are just going across the board. Some of the providers or some of the insurance companies are limiting visits on things, limiting how many you can go into. And so, it's even from the physical therapy aspect, for example, in circumstances where you've maybe broken an ankle or something, you're able to pursue the insurance company for maybe a re-up on physical therapy, get a little bit more under a lot of insurances. Next year, you're not going to be allowed to do that. So again, this goes back to how can you go into 2026 being your best self?
Yes. Yes, which I love. My friend Bill Reed is here. Bubby says, as the wealthiest country in the world, it's shameful that you have to be wealthy to get decent health services. Absolutely. And
Oh, yes,
ooh, you
don't get
don't
me
have to get
started on
started.
that one.
I don't wind her up. That's a whole other show, but it's so
Oh,
true.
oh no, yes. Well, but in the meantime, let's look at the fact of that those wealthy people, they are the forerunners of that concierge service. They are the forerunners of paying out of pocket for whatever they need from a health circumstance. I mean, really, if we're looking at any of these top um wealthy people in this country, do you really think that they're hanging out with your United Healthcare?
No, they've got a back door. That's what she said. Or having show. What was that show they used to have on? Oh gosh, where the guy was the concierge doctor and it was out on Long Island. Anyway, I'll think of it.
Right. Yes. I can't think of it either, but
You,
yes.
you,
Yes.
you know what I'm talking. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And so, what would be? And this is what is so hard for advocating for yourself. So you and I even talked about it. For me, let's talk about me. We're going to use an example. We're both healthy, and so yeah, I was kind of like I literally was thinking this morning. Being somebody that's in construction. Being on in somewhat chaotic places with my work. Like, what if I did break a leg, but and not in a good way, not in a good luck kind of way.
No.
But we talked about what I could, possibly do to change up, my insurance. So it's probably not going to be as comprehensive or robust, but it still is not leaving me out raw dogging without without health insurance.
Exactly. Well, and a lot of this has to do with looking at some of these extended options. Looking at an accident plan. There are some companies out there that are doing $25,000 one-time accident plans, and they're $12 a month.
Mhm.
You go ahead and you break a leg, not in the lucky way,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
you have any of these types of things. Well, then you have the ability to utilize that to go towards your medical costs. So it's going to take a lot of thinking out of the box. And that's kind of where we as brokers, we as advocates have been pushed to. How can we still give you what you need? And again, think outside of the box.
What are some questions that people can ask to find somebody as fabulous as you, and to also weed out somebody that could potentially not be leading you in the right direction, especially in this really crucial time?
I think that really you can easily find that from the very beginning as soon as you start talking to someone. If they start pushing you in a certain direction, if they start pushing you into, no, I think you should take the United Healthcare, that's going to be the best place for you. Have them tell you why. What is that going to give me? What is going to be, the best thing for me? Think of this, okay, as kind of a route here. Think of this as a wish list. If you're going to go
Gotcha.
buy a house, right? You're going to go buy a house and you have a wish list, or you're going to go buy a car and you have a wish list. I love sunroofs. Am I going to buy a car without a sunroof? It's not going to happen. So don't show me a
Mhm.
car that's not going to have a sunroof. It will not happen.
Gotcha.
And so, so the same kind of thing. If you want a house that's got a fireplace, well, then how are you going to feel if someone turns around and shows you, a house that doesn't have a fireplace? It's the
Mhm.
same kind of thing. So if you want something like, if you want access to a specialist, don't let them show you a plan that's not going to have access to a specialist.
Right.
If you want an open network, and again, all of these things are going to come at a cost, but at the same time, you are the one who makes the choice. It is up to you. You have to be the one to say, how are you presenting this to me to where it's going to give me my greatest wish list? And you might not get everything, but you have to be the one to decide what you're going to get rid of.
And I think that's the important thing. Let me just stop real quick. Randy Spite says sunroofs are the shit. So thank you, my friend. Need to
Yes, they are.
but
Nothing.
that's the
Oh,
important thing, and I think that's an excellent analogy for describing that, and I think that's where you do have to do some thinking because there might be a little bit of autopilot for a lot of people, and you do need to think about, okay, what are my needs? So for me, for instance, obviously, hormone replacement therapy, being aware of my skin. We live in a state where the sun's shining 340 days out of the year, or whatever our stats are, right? What are the things that I would need? And I think that would also be something that you'd find, like for you, the conversations that you and I have had, you've taken the time to ask me these clarifying questions, right? My wish list, my scenarios. Clearly the conversation is different because I don't have children that I have to worry about. So, kind of coming up with and I think you can even use Chat GPT, honestly, if you felt like you wanted to drown a polar bear or two and couldn't come up with a idea because you know how much energy that uses. Anywho, I think you can use that to get to know like what are the things that I need to have on the specialists and things like that, right? So
Yep,
people are going to have to
absolutely.
do some thinking.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and that's the biggest thing. You're going to have to do some thinking. And if you are encountering someone and they are not asking you these questions,
That's a red flag.
well, then I was going to say, it doesn't mean that their services are bad. It doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about. It doesn't mean that they can't still advocate for you. It's just that you have to make the decision of what kind of care do you want? Do you want to walk into the doctor's office and be the one-stop shop and say, okay, well, get me done, doc, and I'm in and I'm out the door. Great.
Right.
You can always find doctors that are going to do that. However, do you want to instead have the doctor that's going to take 30 minutes with you and talk the entire 30 minutes and tell you what can you do from here? They might just
Mm,
look at you and just directly say to you, how are you going to get your B's and your D's and get your vitamins? Um,
right. Ah,
and that might be just and shoot you on out the door.
yeah. Yeah.
You
Ask you
know,
and I think that is an important thing. Again, I always filter things through my own lens, which we all should, and that is more of like, am I going to be talking to doctors that are more open or are more knowledgeable about women's issues, about women's health issues, about women aging, menopause, things like that. So, that's an important piece for me to make sure I'm aware of.
well, and the women's health issue is just staggering in this country. And
And that's not in a good way, folks.
no, no, it is not in a good way. Women have much more difficulty advocating. Women have much more difficulty, and even take out the women who are childbearing, take out any of those other types of having babies and birth controls and everything else, go into the menopause side. And just the absolute lack of education that goes
Oh,
on, and the also lack of misinformation, because that is also quite staggering. So, again, go back to, as you're talking to someone and you're trying to find someone, how can you find what is tailored to you? They do exist. There is a lot of people out there that can help you. Feel free to ask things of your doctors. Feel free to ask things even of your nurse practitioners. I don't
yeah.
know a single doctor's office that will not allow you to call them and ask questions to a nurse practitioner.
Great point. I appreciate that. What do you think about, and I'm now racking my brain. There's the different type of doctors. There's a general physician, and then there are some that deal more with kind of more Eastern medicine. And I can't remember, like there's a couple
An
different phrases.
internist?
Interest, but then there's also people that will deal more with like acupuncture or herbs and things like that. What are your feelings on that?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
naturopaths or things like that.
Absolutely. A naturopath. Absolutely. I think that, again, what can you do to put yourself in the best situation? What can you do that is for yourself? If you're sitting there talking about, and this is where, guess what, I'm going to jump into another thing here. This is where, as we talk about moving forward with health insurance policies next year, huge, wonderful good news in the sense of all bronze policies are going to be available for a health savings account. If you don't have one, get one. Utilize that, because that is going to be the way that you can entertain these concierge service. It's going to be where you can pay for that acupuncture, that chiropractic, some of those naturopath types of things. It's going to take a lot of, again, it's going to take a lot of flexibility on your behalf. It's going to take a lot of flexibility of how can I obtain this care and obtain what's good for me. Utilize them also too, the health savings account for your dental, for your vision. And
Me
having
too.
that, not only is it, great for your benefits, but it's also fantastic for your taxes.
Yes, I love that, and I still, we always kind of giggle like, how are teeth and eyeballs not important?
Because what
Oh
we
my
put
gosh.
in our mouth doesn't go into our stomach and go through the rest of our body. You're right, of
I mean,
course.
come on, your mouth and your eyes. I mean, you need to see and I can't. It really is an interesting corner. Anyway,
Well, and it's unfortunate because a lot of those policies, they used to actually have dental and vision included.
I
Um,
know.
and so that again goes back to, do you have somebody that has also come into this profession and done the back research? Because that's kind of another thing is that during COVID, we saw a lot of people changing professions, and everybody thought that being a health insurance broker was going to be easy. And let me tell you, it is not easy.
No, because there's so much work that you do, and I'm going to my one of the bigger points of the show is just to toot your horn of how much just the conversations, these helpful, insightful conversations that prove to me over and over again that you are on top of it, as hard as it is, as difficult as it is. And I know it's been, every time there's a big change, I always sort of end up calling you like, "How you doing over there, babe?" Yeah, because I know that it just is so stressful for you because you're heart centered in your work that it's going to be really difficult for people as well too. That is very exciting news about the bronze policies and that. So yay, there is a little glimmer of hope, right?
There is. Fidelity is my favorite. I will
Okay.
say I'm gonna shout out to Fidelity right now. It's my favorite. I love that they have a couple different options. They have a hip new version, which is gonna be the Fidelity Go, but you can get it with any of your banks. You even if you've got like Wells Fargo, even if you've got State Farm, look at those as options. Really what you're looking for is no minimums. You're also
Okay.
looking for something that is not going to penalize you if you pull any of the funds. Um, and also, when I say no minimums, I mean no minimum contribution, but also no minimum, like in the instance of the account, like say for example, you have to always have 250 in it or something like that. Um, so, but just yeah, and talk to your tax accountant and see from your tax accountant perspective, is that, can this be beneficial to me? Where can this be of a benefit to me? Especially again from the tax form.
And I would, obviously for this year, you know, if you weren't, it's a little too late for the game, but as we're coming up to the beginning of the year, right? So start the
Yes.
year off fresh, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
2026 again is going to be that timeline to where you can have a bronze plan and have a health savings account. And so there's been a lot of other stipulations about minimums, maximums, and things for the past few years about health savings accounts and being able to have one of those, but you won't have to worry about that for next year. So that's another way to offset costs.
I love it. Um, I want to bring up a couple of other one thing I think is so important for advocating for yourself when we talked about this of asking questions is making sure when you are going to the doctor, you've got a list, right? Because nothing makes things run out of your head faster than sitting there with no underwear with a paper gown. I mean, I'm
And
dumber
it's
than a box of
cold.
rocks. And it's cold and I'm trying to keep all my bits in and it's like I can't think straight because I'm everything. So, I mean, really kind of coming to that with, with questions. And also tell me your opinion on this too. I know I had a procedure done this year that ended up being incredibly painful. I can't tell you how frustrating it is that women's healthcare, I had more pain management from my dentist than I had for this whole I did go back to my doctor when I went back for the follow-up and just said whatever was going on with that last visit was absolutely unconscionable, and I said you need to get your shit together with pain management. Don't ever do that to me again and not offer me stuff. If you need to come up and they like, well, we had to do everything together, I said don't ever come at me again like that with
Right.
that.
Yes.
And they
Oh,
were they seem to feel badly about it. I'll just say that. But what talk to me
of
about
course they
advocacy.
feel badly. Not only is it number one that they're upset that they hurt you,
Yeah,
but on the other side, they know they feel badly because they
yeah.
know that they're doing this to thousands of women who are having the exact same thing done.
girl, I mean, I was like, how did I get here kind of thing. So, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, I know this is more getting into sort of not, obviously not your field, but you speak to so many people of how people can advocate for pain management, especially when it comes to procedures for women.
I think that really it's just, again, having that conversation. It's um, thinking again out of the box. And when you're analyzing that procedure or you're analyzing those types of things, I mean, ask them the question, are you going to hurt me?
How bad is this going to hurt? And that's just
Is
plugging it
this
in.
gonna hurt? Are you gonna hurt me? Like, what are you doing? Because here's the thing too, is that so many times when you're sitting there and it's cold and you're in a gown and you got,
Yeah,
you're holding on to your bits, you're sitting there and you're saying to yourself, well, they're the doctor. They're gonna do what's best for me. Um, we've, you
right.
know,
I
we
trusted
again
that.
are having to, unfortunately, question a lot of those motives, question a lot of those procedures. And so it does mean you got to ask a lot of questions. I need you guys to be willing to ask those questions. I
Yeah,
need you to, it sounds again funny. Let's go back to the car reference. If you walked in there and that guy said to you, hey, this is going to drive like a dream, go ahead, take it home. Are
yeah,
you going to take it home? No, you're not. You're going to
right.
look at a Carfax. You're going to ask the questions.
Yeah, get on
So why are you
YouTube.
not doing the same thing for yourself?
I appreciate that. And I think that, and I'm taking notes because that's the only way I can retain stuff sometimes, even though we're talking about it. I would say just asking the question, and this is what I wish I had asked. And I did say to them, you need to talk to people about this beforehand. I don't know why you were so cavalier about it, but is there any option for pain management? I think that's a question that women have just never been given, that we don't even think to ask it.
No, we just think that again, that whatever is being offered to us, and this is a plight of women, we just think whatever is being offered
Yeah.
to us, that that's just the way that it is, and that's the way it's
Yes.
supposed to be.
Right.
Thank
Great. Great.
goodness the women, in this generational format are saying, hey, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. We
Yeah.
are, we are taking in my opinion, a large control of our health and our wellness, stress, all of those things, and we're not just lying down and taking it anymore. So,
Right. And I think that, that goes with the whole thing of women hyper performing, that, you've got it here, you've got it, everything at home, taking care of that, taking care of this. Women make all, 85%, if not more, of the overall buying decisions, right? I mean, sounds great and sounds fun, but that's buying decisions. That's all the work we put into, right? So the fact of us being so overstressed, enough of that. I wrote this down. That's the way it is, not the way it's supposed to be. I,
absolutely.
I
Well, the
absolutely,
other thing is too is that I mean, and hear me out on this one, but it's very difficult, I think, for women because we are still in circumstances of where we are very rapidly encountering misogynistic women.
oh, girl. Well, what did I tell you about the post from somebody asking me why I colored my hair and why I wasn't, aging gracefully?
Mhm.
How about you go fuck yourself? Anyway, I mean, there's the way I always get my live streams, have it not suitable for work. And I agree. Cousin Sheila says people should be getting vision and dental at least once a year, and paying for it is ridiculous. Absolutely, cousin, because you think about in anything in obviously we know this preventative. My God,
Yes.
preventative. It's so much less. We were on such a like a reactive way with healthcare as opposed to just being preventative. So I agree with you.
Well, but here's the other side of it too, is that go back to before the Affordable Care Act, it did have to do with how healthy are you. That's what how your rate was determined.
Right.
Again, we've
Great
come
reminder.
into this circumstance, and so a lot of people have fallen off. A lot of people said, I don't need to get a physical. I feel pretty healthy. I'm so happy for you. I'm glad that you feel healthy. Get your butt in there
Oh,
anyways. Zero
oh
excuses.
gosh, you're right. Oh, that makes so much sense. That's a sobering reminder that we all got a little, that is the offshoot of it, right? Or the causal kind of effect of it is like, oh, I don't have to worry now.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, the other side of that too is that it's also difficult because we have, instances of, when we want the healthcare companies, they want you to come in every single year to get a mammogram. They want you to come in every year to get a colonoscopy. But if you want to go in and get a pap smear, well, guess what? Now you're going to wait 5 years.
So dumb. My God. Right?
So, the hard thing is that
Ah,
there's the inconsistencies always,
yeah.
in what we're being told. And so it just again
Inconsistent.
goes back to what can you do for yourself? I want everybody to go and get a physical. There is zero reason if you have health insurance to not go get a physical for free every year. Please ask them for the basic blood panel, because if you don't, then they're going to walk in there and they're going to do this huge thing, and then you're going to be pissed off because you got a bill.
Right.
Um, but you have to ask them,
Right.
what does my physical entail? What is covered under my physical? What
Right. Oh
what does
gosh, I
that
remember.
mean?
I remember they did a vitamin D test and that thing, and I actually was getting that through my HRT, and it was like it was the most offensive $210 bill I ever fucking got. I was
I
so
told
mad.
you, your B's and D's, man. They're
I know, like get off, get off me on that one.
Yep.
But back on the misogyny from
Oh,
women, and yeah. But anyway, there's a lot. There's a lot of that too.
yes,
And then
yes.
there's that trust factor that we have as well too. How give me some tips on that of for folks for dealing with that or recognizing it and
Well,
how to.
I think that goes back to just as even as we were talking about finding, someone to assist you with your health insurance and things. And so look for those red flags, look for somebody that's just trying to push you
Mhm,
along. Look for somebody who's not actually like really invested in your thoughts and your questions.
mhm,
I've had a couple of circumstances in my life of where, and in the last about 5 years where I've encountered providers that I've known for years, and they said, well, we could just do this. Well, we could just do this. When I finally found a provider who would sit down and talk to me, she said, thank goodness you didn't do that. You would be dead right now. You
wow.
literally would have had massive hemorrhaging and internal bleeding, and you would be dead. And
Wow.
so,
That's frightening.
so again, I mean, I was just going off of my intuition, and I was just going off of, I don't
Just
feel
gonna
like
say
this
that.
is right.
I was
Um,
oh,
and
mhm,
and again, this goes back to where you were talking about just a moment ago about women making the decisions, about women being the forefronts of navigating these decisions. Where are you as a woman taking a step back? Where are
right.
you as a woman consulting other women? I say this to you on the menopausal front. Haven't you felt much better in the last few years really consulting with other women and saying, hey, are you using any of these? Are you getting your hormones tested? What's your
Ab
hormone level? What's my hormone
Yeah,
level?
yeah, the
Are you using cream? Are
conversation.
you using pellets? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. Oh my gosh, that information gathering, that having this group of women, having your own little brain trust, and then having, I mean, even people I don't know, it's been so refreshing to, if you are having a conversation with a group of women or even in passing, it can come up so easily when you, like, you know what I mean, like, how you feeling, do you know what I mean? And I love that women are having that conversation a lot more because it is still whispered. I do love Dr. Mary Claire Haver has been a really great advocate. Now, she does have a whole product line, but I do trust that line. It doesn't feel like she's in business to have the product line. She has the products because she's talked to too many people that have had issues. But yes, these conversations have been so freeing and eye-opening. And she does talk a lot about that. And I just saw another woman on Instagram speak about how when women would come with their concerns and say, but I don't feel good. Something is wrong. That doesn't seem like it's it. We get put into that difficult category. And they literally have done that for the longest time of like, oof, complicated. Oof,
That
oof,
is true. And it is, and here's the thing. When I have had clients that have said that to me and they've said to me, well, I went and I talked to the doctor and they made me seem like I'm difficult. I told them, I said, it is damn difficult to be a woman. So they should just,
Yeah, it is difficult.
it's difficult to be a
Yeah.
woman. We have
Oh,
difficult issues. Every woman is different. We have a
that's so
lot going
sad.
on. So
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
again, if someone thinks that you're going to be easy, well, move along. There's a lot of
Oh,
providers, you
thank you for
know?
saying that. You know what? Rather than shrinking or figuring out a way to say it that they can understand it, just be okay with sounding difficult and being a pain in the ass. Because if you don't feel good, right? And I
Oh,
think that's going to normalize people speaking up more often.
yes. And to be honest, like I am on a track of, I'm at about almost 6 years of not feeling good. And I have been through a lot of doctors and a lot of providers and a lot of
Yes.
places. And I'm still in, again, my own research of it. And I've tried so many different things and
I
but it's
know.
taken a lot to get to that point and say, you know what? I just don't feel good. The other thing is that, um, turning into the camaraderie of I don't feel good. I don't care if you have a preschooler and you're dropping them off at school. There's another mom who feels the exact same way as you do. There is another woman
Power
sitting
in
next
that
to you
conversation.
on the bus that feels the same way. Another woman in the library that feels the same way. Like we really as a whole are feeling this pressure and this crunch and all of these things going on. We are we are all as a whole feeling that need to break out, feeling that need
Yeah.
for womanhood. And you know
Camaraderie, like you said. Yeah.
yes.
There's so much power in that. That's what I was just saying on that of having these random conversations with women. And it can be there's some kind of thing where you can again, grocery store, waiting in line for something, having and you just the conversations have come up so much more easily and quickly and without that embarrassment of it as well too, which was kind of baked into our system. I did want to, what was I just going to say? See the brain fog. Cousin Sheila says, and she's been on my podcast before, y'all, talking about disabilities, especially with vision. She has vision impairment, and it's just I'll post a link in here, y'all, so you can see it again. Cousin says, what's interesting about vision exams is that the doctor can sometimes find other health issues like diabetes just by checking your eyes. A huge piece, right? Glaucoma.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that's where, again, this overall health and wellness, and that goes back to just a moment ago when we were talking about not getting those physicals, not getting those things checked out. And I think that that's really where Cousin Sheila's coming from is get even if you don't have vision insurance, go pay $60 and go get your eyes checked, please. And
Yeah.
then guess what? If you have a health savings account, well, then you've already paid into it and you've already had the
Mm.
tax benefits. So take that card and then just go swipe it and get your eyes checked.
Girl, that piece of advice about the health savings was worth the price of admission for anybody, even if just for that part of the conversation. That's what you're also talking about. Take control of what you can, right? Because it does feel so overwhelming. It's exactly why I wanted to have this conversation. We're coming up on, I think, on your time.
Yeah, I'm
But
getting a little
I love,
close.
see? And I was like, we're good. And then we're like, hour later, it's wonderful. Sheila also mentioned this could be a whole other show, but I'm going to bring it up. Also, any problem you have as an overweight woman has to do with your weight. How much have you heard that? That somebody that's overweight, like any you come in and you present a problem, they're always like, well, it's because of your weight.
Oh my
Huge
gosh.
thing, right? I mean,
All right, cousin Sheila, we got another round. Are you ready?
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for bringing
I
that up.
have
It's really
received
true.
I have received in the last 6 years a lot of reasons for why people think that I am the weight that I am. And I've received a lot of doctors giving me every spiel between, it's because I had a baby later in life, because I experienced a debilitating accident and didn't walk for 24 weeks. And
Mm,
my hormones and and what are you eating and what are you putting in your mouth and all of that
right.
kind of stuff.
That they won't even
And
speak
the
to you
other
about.
thing is that we then have all of these things like Weight Watchers that are preying on us and saying, well, just decrease your
Oh,
calories, increase your
listen.
protein.
the fact, and I will jump in here this real quick, the fact that we have Dr. Oz and RFK Jr., these shills making decisions, or advocate. I mean, it is so, oof, I can't. It was
There's a lot of,
problematic
yeah,
before these two
there's, I was gonna
came in,
say,
and you know
from,
what?
again, this doesn't even go into the political realm, just from a healthcare aspect. Like it's
Yeah,
just, and again, though, on the other side, when you see them, are you raising red flags? Is your intuition going off? Because
right. Yeah,
if it's not, then you might be that one-stop shop, go see the doctor. But I think a lot of us really need more than that.
we do. And I have somebody over on, I've got some randos on YouTube, but they're like, do you read the chat? Why, yes, I do. Thank you for popping in here. We're talking about healthcare. I do think one thing I wanted to mention too, and this is can seem so woo woo, but I don't care. You keep talking about it. We keep saying about advocating and the intuition. And I think for women, I say this all the time, our intuition, I call it infoition. If we can use that of being so grounded of like, no, I know something's going on, I know something's off about this, then use that. Please advocate for yourself. Please don't
Yes,
be scared anymore to ask these uncomfortable conversations. It gets, scared, intimidated, slapped, whatever out of us to use our intuition. And I really think that divine feminine rising, yes, I'm going to get into that too for a second, of really, and that can be for men or for women. Feminine is, obviously can run in all different circles, but please, just using that intuition is so important, and asking with confidence, you know.
absolutely. Well,
Mm,
and a lot of
tough
people
one.
don't know this, but November is Men's Mental Health and Wellness Month.
Thank you. Thank
Some
you.
people don't know this. We do talk about women, obviously, because we are women and because we
Mhm.
are right in the thick of it and experiencing it.
Yep,
However, we need men to stand up and to please go get your physical. You are not good to your family if you are not getting your physical. You
that's
are
right.
not good to your family if you are not saying, I am ill, I am struggling. Whether this
Such
is
a
from a
great.
mental health aspect or even just from a physical aspect. Again, overall, please go into 2026 being the best that you can be. I will
Mm,
not be surprised if going in the first few months of the year, we're gonna have a lot of people going in. The other thing is just to be straight and be real about these tax credits and these tax subsidies. There's a lot of people who are saying, if this goes in that way, I'm not going to have health insurance. What does that really mean? It means urgent cares are flooded, emergency rooms are flooded. It means that if you actually have a need to get into a doctor's office, you're gonna be pushed aside, you're gonna be weighted. The other
mm,
side of that is that even if they are approved and we continue with business as normal, because of the rate increases, a lot of people are transitioning into other insurance companies. That means that you might be looking for a new provider. Please understand that that means that there is, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who are also moving into that same insurance company and also looking for a new provider. Again, we're talking about doctors' offices being overwhelmed. So, as a whole, what can you do? Please go get your prescriptions as early as you can. Make sure you've got a little bit extra going into next year. Get those eyes checked, get those teeth checked. If you've again met your deductible and maxed out of pocket, please get that mole looked at. If you are a person who has not gotten your physical, please get one. Please do what you can to get into a provider. There's a lot of new providers that have come into, especially into Colorado networks. Again, look at the mental health aspect. Even as a woman, if just you have somebody that you can chat with and that you can bounce ideas off of, and you can say,
sure.
hey, I don't think this is working for me. My mental health provider, God bless her, she's been hanging out with me for almost 3 years now. Um, and a lot of what we talk about is the health and wellness of things. And she's made a lot of, suggestions about thinking outside of the box, things that have worked for her. And so, I think that just as a whole, as a woman in a stressful environment, stressful experience that we continue to have, utilizing that. Take some time out for yourself. What can you do every single day that is good for you?
Yeah.
I always say, again, B's and D's. Go get your vitamins, B's and
Yes.
D's.
Yeah. Drink some water. Be moisturized.
Yes.
Hydrate,
Yes.
moisturize. And I do think there's that, one way to fight the patriarchy and a lot of the stuff that's going on is to kick against the rugged individualism, like you were just saying, of like getting out there and having conversations with people. And I think that's a huge piece of it too, is information sharing.
You are not alone.
Mm,
Every single thing that you are experiencing, there is someone that is, within less than 2 degrees that is experiencing the same thing.
mm.
And
Thank
I know this in the course of talking to all of these people, having conversations with all of these people. It takes a lot of vulnerability to put yourself out there. And you know this too. It takes a lot of vulnerability to ask the question and say, "Hey, my hormones are crazy. What
you. Yeah, I don't feel
what
good.
are yours doing?
Why am I so dumb and hungry?
Why can I not
And hot.
think? Why and I can't think?"
And I can't think it is. I mean, yeah, it's been, and it's taken a lot of work and it's a lot of management still. I'm waiting for my blood results to come in because I'm having breakthrough hot flashes. So I'm doing some black cohosh. I'm also doing see, now I can't even think of it, but it's really good for your brain. It's and it
Um,
helps muscle mass, and it's a powder. I'll think of it. Anyway. Oh yeah.
yeah, so there's a few things,
It's a it's a supplement.
and well, the other thing that I think that we didn't touch on really quickly as well, please be patient.
Oh yes, such a good point.
Be patient.
Such a
Well,
good point, honey.
these doctors are seeing a lot of people too. They are, again, they're navigating their own side of it. I mean, you and I have talked extensively about just an overall compassion in the world and
Mm,
an understanding. And we always want to just be in circumstances of where we have answers. Social media has given us that answer,
yeah.
answer, answer. Yes, you can ask Google all of your medical circumstances, but at the same time, having that collective group and asking the person instead that's right next to you. But go back to go back to
Yeah.
the conversation before we were social media and and texting and asking all of those questions. Find your tribe.
Yep.
Um, even in the sense of medical, find your medical tribe.
You like you said, you can be 2 steps away, 2 degrees away from somebody with an answer to that too, which is also important of having these, what I call your board of advisors, your board of favorites, like, "Hey, who do you go to for XYZ?" And so I think, again, finding that tribe, finding that group of people that you're like, "Hey, I don't feel good. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of XYZ?" So,
Right. And maybe what's working for you, or maybe what have you encountered, or maybe, I encountered this doctor and they were really wonderful. I happened to just, not even joking, a few months ago, find this absolutely wonderful doctor. And it was another one of those that I fell into, but he's so wonderful. I think I've referred him out to like over a dozen people now. Because he does take the time, he does pay attention. He is spending a lot of time in talking with me and giving me options, and that's something that
yes.
I haven't had in a while.
I will post a list because I do order from, it's called Pause Nutrition. That's Mary
Mhm.
Claire Havers. And I cannot think of what, because obviously I haven't taken it today. But I think you do have to find your own recipe of what works for you. And then also be willing to be patient, as you said, and modify that or manage your own healthcare, manage your own health. Find
Yes,
out what
yes.
works for you, you know.
In your chat, did you have anybody that asked questions?
I didn't. I just had the comments from a cousin. And if you are watching this in the replay, I will keep an eye on the comments here as well. I will tag Lonnie here, and I don't want to offer you up too much, darling. But if you see any
You can
questions,
always
I'll tag
offer
you.
me up. I would absolutely be fine with it. I don't have
Oh,
any problem with that. I'm always willing to to navigate questions for people, navigate any types of issues for people. If I can help you, great. If I can't help you, trust me, I will send you to someone who can.
and that is an example of what we just talked about.
Kind of, yes.
Really, yeah,
Yes.
that was actually in play here at this very second. So, Lonnie, I appreciate you so much, honey. Thank you for
Absolutely.
coming in here and talking with everybody. And y'all, if you are watching in the replay, like I said, just comment and we'll see it and we'll see if we can get you some answers. All right, everybody?
Yep. And
Thank you.
please, 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 last thing,
Yes.
please get your health insurance. We don't know what this is
Yes.
going to do, but please get your health insurance. Get it set, get it ready to go. Find that plan, be in there, be in the network, make your
Yes.
premium payments. Let's keep things business as usual. If by chance as well, you see these things and you are finding out that your premiums are going to go up by $1,000, $2,000. Yes, that is real. Please call your representative, talk to them. Be
Yes.
that real case that is presented. Be that real case that's discussed, in part of these discussions
Yes.
on the floor. Don't just sit there and think that you have to accept this. Please talk to your representatives. Please
Oh,
advocate again for yourself. Tell them my premium was $150. It's 700. Yes, this is real. It is. When they
oh,
give you those numbers, they are real, but please talk about it, put it out there, have the
yeah,
conversations with, again, your other groups of people. What insurance do you have? What are you utilizing?
sure.
How can we as a whole, how can we work together on this?
I love that, honey. Thank you for reminding us of that too. You guys, I use the app Five Calls and you can get it on your phone. It's fivecalls.org. I absolutely love that app. You can just basically put in your zip code and it will tell you who all your representatives are. They will give you a script of these type of things. Now, of course, Five Calls leans Democrat. So you'll see that that's, what the script will be. But that's a perfect example of it. Hold on, Christopher's calling me and he doesn't. I'm still alive, darling. Oh, yay! He got his blood work done for his hormone therapy. There's man.
Yes.
That's that husband of mine. All right, honey, I'm still live. Yay, I love you. Okay, bye. See, that's real live action right there.
Yep. Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
because he feels better when he does that too. But fivecalls.org is a great way to do that. Thank you for such a good reminder. You are a constituent. You do have a voice. It doesn't feel like that right now, but I think it's a great way to let your representative know.
Well, and also too, even
You.
if you don't feel like that they're going to listen to you, even if you don't feel like that they're going to vote in the way, when this all comes down, they're going to vote in the way for you, please talk to them anyways.
Yeah,
Get your
absolutely.
voice out there, talk to
Yeah,
them, have these conversations with them. Do then again, like we're talking about the things on the side. Look at how you can, get your prescriptions. How can you get in to see these providers before the end of the year? How can
yeah,
you make sure that are walking in to whatever this looks like coming
yeah.
2026?
Just
Because the world's
remind
gonna ask you to level up. I'm telling you, it's gonna
I
ask you to
mean it.
level up.
Yep, you better strap in, eat your Wheaties, get your vitamins, your B's and your C's.
Literally eat your Wheaties. I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
seriously, you're there.
Shit's about to get real, and I really appreciate that. And I will say, especially if you're living in a place where your representative is not listening to you. Like, yeah, we live in Colorado. We can call up Diana DeGette and Michael Bennett and Hickenlooper and all that, which sometimes they can be a little sketchy. But overall, they are voting and they are casting they're putting their voice out there for that's similar to ours. If you're living in these states where they're not, we need you to make phone calls even more so. So again, fivecalls.org. I love it. Creatine, by the way, is the supplement that I could not remember. So I love creatine for brain function and some muscle mass too, because we lose that as we get older, especially women. All right, that was great advice. That's just what I needed. This is exactly what I wanted to have happen on this
Good.
call. So please, y'all, I know it's an hour and 7 minutes, but it was a lot of good information. So we love you. We appreciate you. We're here for you. All right.
We
And
are. We are very much here for you. And there's a lot of other people that are here for you too. Again, like going back to you're not alone. Please,
yep,
please, please turn out. Look at
yep.
who's standing next to you.
Absolutely. Don't hang up when I end the stream because I'm going to chat with you for a few more
Yes.
minutes. All right, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you.